Yeah, we straight chillin', serial killing, three cool villains on the mic, got you reeling. 5-star rated from the floor to the ceiling. If you catch a 1-star, no time for feelings. Got a demon DJ on the ones and twos, by the name Beelzebub, so don't get confused. So grab a seat by the fire, roast a marlow or two, and prepare to hear the legend of the straight chillin' crew.
What up, nerds, and welcome to another Demon Juice episode of Straight Chilling, the weekly horror movie review show where you chill and we kill, slice, dice, and chop up yet another horror movie. My name is Bob. I'll be your host for the evening. This is episode 493, recorded Monday, September 9th, 2024. Tonight we're talking about a new release. This is Beetlejuice Beetlejuice. Before we get into the review, let me introduce everyone else on the show. First up, calling in from Washington, D.C., we got your boy Randeezy. What's up, man?
She was gorgeous!
What's going on, baby? I am so not tired to be here.
We're so not tired to have you, brother. Super
Oh
stoked.
man, what a great time we're gonna have with my unlimited, boundless energy.
You sprightly young thing.
I know, it's amazing.
Not a day over 9. Look at you. Last but not least,
Jesus.
calling in. Yeah, that was a
Weird
sorry.
choice.
Calling in from Seoul, South Korea, we got your boy Soju. What's up, man?
Oh, what up? It is your boy, Mr. Juice Stains. We got a Juice
Oh.
and a Bob in this movie.
Get the juice now.
If only
the
we had a
juice-
Randy. Damn.
The juice was
Nah.
Randy, so really we're all there. Nah.
Nah.
I was gonna wait for a
I got
Bob
nothing to
there.
add. No,
We
I
just
got
got
nothing,
that dead air
so-
for Randy's typical.
I know.
I just removed the dead air bump. It's great.
Dead
great.
air.
Um,
Fantastic, boys. We're clearly
this is
in
a-
rare
God
form.
damn, what a great
Not
machine.
gonna count on
What a
Randy
great-
tonight.
No, my brain is fucked right now. So
Hell yeah.
All right,
Well-
I'll
that'd be great.
throw a couple extra poop jokes in there and I cleared the space, you know.
Oh,
Thank
thank
you.
God.
Yeah, I
Really got a few in
gotcha.
the chamber.
I gotcha. Yeah, you know,
All right, cool.
be in my back pocket just in case.
Punch the
Oh,
episode up a
okay.
little bit. Before we get into the review, let's tackle just a little bit of housekeeping here, gentlemen. Our October poll is currently posted over on our Patreon website. If you guys support us at the $5 level or above, you get the chance to vote on a movie we're talking about this October. Actually, 3 movies we're talking about this October. Something we've been doing the past couple years for our October poll is the 3 of us have been picking 3 movies, a triple feature, all based on a theme. And you guys are voting on theme alone. You don't know what the movies are until the end of the month, and we see which one won. And then we'll announce those 3 movies. So the themes you're voting on are Lost and Found, Thrill Me, and Ghastly Ghouls.
Whoa, Bob, this is the poll for the year. How those numbers looking?
Get the juice now.
Get it now. They have changed slightly, so Lost and Found is still in first place with 42% of the vote, came down just a
Whoa.
little bit. Thrill Me, second place with 37%, came up just a little bit.
Okay.
Ghastly Ghouls, 21%, about the same.
About the same. So it's a heated competition between Thrill Me and Lost and Found.
The other one. Yeah, it is.
Well, there's a whole other one.
the other one.
Cool.
But we don't talk about that one.
No.
Good. Wow, 42%. It's quite
It's commanding.
quite the number.
I'd
Yeah.
say.
Yeah, there's still, I think maybe about half the folks out there have voted, so it's anyone's game still. It's early in the month. Make sure you get your votes in before the end of September, and we'll see what triple feature we're going to be talking about this October.
Dope.
In other Patreon news, we're dropping mini casts every other Friday. We got a brand new one dropping this Friday, Friday the 13th. You get a little extra
Whoa,
ear
something extra
candy.
spooky, I'm sure. Something
Wow.
horrifying, gory, campy. What is it, Bob?
What's more horrifying than the finger of God? Twisters.
Sounds pleasurable to me.
Well, yeah,
I don't know,
twisters.
it
there's
would.
two fingers. I'm assuming at least. You know,
Get the juice now.
Sounds titillating.
it is a sequel. You know, it's yeah, twisters. There it is.
I can't stop.
Is
Can't stop.
dropping this Friday on Patreon.
Randy has just fallen asleep on the bump button. Actually, that's what's happening.
Yeah,
He's just
this is-
passing
yeah.
out on top of it.
I didn't know there was an
Going nuts.
autopilot function, but I'm taking full advantage.
Wow. Check that out this Friday over on our Patreon website. If you guys are on there, you can listen to all of our mini casts on whatever your podcatcher of choice is.
Ooh,
I think this is going to be mini casts like 137, something like
holy
that.
shit. We're going to get to
Jesus
the point where we
Christ.
have to celebrate. We're their 200th mini
I know.
episode anniversary.
There will be no celebration.
Only weeping in the streets, weeping and gnashing of teeth, I tell you.
God damn.
You think you're happy about this shit? No, there's no celebrating here.
There's no joy in this podcast game. Check that out on Patreon this Friday.
It was so harsh. There will be no
No.
celebration.
There will be none.
You will weep
Randy-
and beg at my feet, bitch.
Randy needs a hug. Couple other things here. So we are approaching episode 500, our regular episodes, number 500. And if you guys would like to call and leave a voicemail or send an email to be featured on that episode, make sure you get them in before the end of this month, September the 28th.
Whoa.
If you want to give us a shout out, now's your time. Get it in.
I
let
know
it
we
rip.
only do
Your
a few of
shouts
these
outs
every
in.
couple years, so you better get them
Yeah.
I know.
And we only let call-ins call every week. They rarely do.
Episode
So,
500 is only
get in while
happening
it's hot.
once.
Only
Only
happening
happening
once. Yeah.
So plump, so right.
And we're skipping 600. We're just going to straight to 666. So.
Yeah.
Episode 500, then episode 666. Nothing in
Yeah.
between.
And then 696 is also a big one.
It's a huge one, yeah. Call in, ask us questions, tell us to go fuck ourselves, whatever you want, do it. 904
I'm going to call in with
638
that comment.
32.
Go fuck ourselves.
Hey,
Thank you,
fuckers.
thank you, Randy. The last bit I have here is we're going to be having our 4th annual Chilloween party, and this is something we've been doing for Patreon subscribers. If you support us at any level on Patreon whatsoever, you're invited to the Chilloween party. It is a hangout via Zoom, and we have horror trivia. We also have a costume contest, and we're going to be screening a surprise horror film with a little bit of a
Mm.
live commentary happening on that as well.
Whoa.
Hey, Bob, what's the
And-
movie?
It's a surprise, Randy. Damn
Oh,
it.
man.
Okay.
God dang.
That's going to be happening Friday, October 18th at 9 Eastern. So go ahead and mark your calendars. We'll post a link to join the party on our Patreon just before showtime. And you don't have to dress up. If you guys want to, feel free. And then we'll, vote on the dopest costume, and we'll send out prizes for that, as well as prizes for the winners of the trivia contest. So
It's
come hang out.
I
very
want to see these
exclusive.
prizes. These prizes are going to be a little bit different this year.
It's true.
Whoa.
Rainey and I were
Fun.
discussing it, and it's madness, actually, I think.
It is truly a thing of madness.
I'm
It's
curious
insane.
now, but not curious enough to get the text. just
No,
just the normal amount of curious.
Don't misunderstand me.
Don't, like,
Do not
please
contact me.
We're gonna
Just,
ship you.
Just,
We're shipping you Justin.
whoa.
You win this man. Do with him what you
Yep.
will.
You got
Yeah,
a
man,
little
that's-
teaser of what you're getting in the bedroom.
It's good.
Earlier. The
How?
whole
What?
weeping and gnashing of teeth thing,
Yeah,
We got a winner.
My typical MO,
At your feet.
And also there
of course.
Yeah.
there will be once again for this Chilloween party some special merch available for a brief period of time, starting
Exclusive.
at about the time you're hearing this podcast. This episode is dropping at the same day. So that's going to be available only through Halloween itself, removing from our premises, our store, right on the stroke of midnight. If you don't get it by then, it's gone forever until next year.
Forever, boys. I think
Yes.
that's all I got. So, anything else you want to plug?
Hey,
I think my house is clean.
mine too. Oh, up. Well. Stop everything. Stop everything. Jesus Christ.
Crush mode.
Let's try that one more time.
This house is clean.
I thought it was totally time for trivia.
Let's do it
Did you know that it's time to go cooter hunting?
right now. All right,
Bob, you got
boys.
some box or something? What's happening?
Yeah, we're talking Beetlejuice,
Beetleman.
or Beetlejuice, if you prefer.
Beetlejuice. I think they
which I
missed a
do.
huge opportunity there.
Yes,
They
I do
sure
prefer
did.
that.
Yep.
So yeah, we're talking Beetlejuice just came out. This is rated PG-13 with a runtime of 1 hour and 45 minutes. This is directed by your boy Tim Burton, of course. Written by Alfred Goh, Miles Millar, Seth Graham-Smith. This stars just a ton of people, actually. Michael Keaton, Winona Ryder, Catherine O'Hara, Jenna Ortega, Justin Theroux, Willem Dafoe, Monica Bellucci, Arthur Conti, some other lovely folks.
Your boy Danny DeVito.
Dan DeVito.
Danny made a little sneak in there.
My boy
under the wire.
Daniel DeVito.
He sneaks it in every
Somebody
time.
made him a promise during the filming of Dumbo, I'm assuming.
We'll make it up.
Listen, if you're in this
to
fucking thing, I'll put you in
you.
Beetlejuice.
Beetlejuice.
Randy, you're breaking up like
Yeah.
a motherfucker. Is that just me or Juice? Are you
No,
hearing that
yeah,
too?
he is breaking up.
Like a motherfucker.
Should I try leaving and coming back? Or
Maybe. It's been pretty
Maybe?
consistent.
Yeah.
okay, let me try that.
You sound clear to me, Bob. You haven't had any problems.
Okay, good. God, I don't want to have to edit another episode like every fucking minute.
Oh my god. Okay. Share.
I promise.
Yep.
Right. That's coming. Is any better voice vocally? Anything different?
So
Better.
far.
So far,
Sounds
yeah.
good.
Yeah.
But it is okay. But the quality is good when it's coming through, right? Like
Yes.
it's not. Okay, so it should be the right mic. Is what I was trying to figure out.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, yeah, I didn't know.
Yeah,
that's what
the
you're trying
mic
to
is
figure
fine.
out. Yeah, mic is fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
All right, you guys
All right.
good?
Well,
Yep.
good to go. As good as I'm gonna be.
All right. Plot synopsis brought to you by IMDb is as follows. After a family tragedy, 3 generations of the Dietz family return home to Winter River. Still haunted by Beetlejuice, Lydia's life is turned upside down when her teenage daughter Astrid accidentally opens the portal to the afterlife. Gentlemen, brand new movie, first time watch for all of us. Would you recommend folks check out Beetlejuice? Randy, kick us off.
Marginally, very marginally, I would say. I think this movie is going to. I don't know. I don't want to like. It really just comes down to my opinion on the movie overall. So I'm gonna withhold some of that until we actually get into it. But generally, a light recommend. If you're in love with the original Beetlejuice, you'll be fine. I think. I think people's mileage is just going to vary wildly on this one. To be honest with you.
Right on. I love it when you withhold, Randy. It's one of my favorite things.
I know. I'm a big edger. I live on the edge. So as we all know.
Big flirt. Juice, what about you?
I'm gonna go with the Bob Spesh and say medium to loose on this one. I think if you've seen Beetlejuice and you saw that a new Beetlejuice movie was coming out, I think you pretty much got 100% in your mind what this movie is already. Like, I think you really just, it's just, do you actually want to experience or not? You already know what it is. It is what it is. So yeah, I mean, I think it's like, I think it's specifically Halloween though themed, which the original like was not. So this one is definitely Halloween themed. So if you're looking to scratch that itch for the season, then sure, go for it. Pumpkins. Bob, how about you? Would you recommend people check this out?
Yeah, I think we're all about on the same page. It sounds like I was, I guess you could say, pleasantly surprised, but I still think that if you caught this on streaming, that would be totally fine.
Yeah.
It is big Halloween vibes though, which was nice. So who knows when it'll hit streaming?
Parts of it are.
Yeah, parts of it, yeah. So yeah, that sounds like just a loose, light
Medium to
recommend,
loose.
medium
Yeah,
to
it's
loose.
The
Stamp
loosest.
it,
Yeah.
just stamp it.
The old Bob special.
You heard it here, folks. Medium to loose. We are going to be spoiling the shit out of this movie, and here comes your warning.
Oh, God, slap me in the ass.
You're not
All right, Bob.
changing.
What are those spoilers?
Let me spoil them for you. Yeah, I got the plot. I got it here. There's a lot that happens in this movie. I think I got it about as short as I can. Let's do it. In 2024, Lydia Dietz hosts a talk show called Ghost House, and it's produced by her boyfriend, Rory. She's also been having visions of Beetlejuice lately. Delia, Lydia's stepmom, informs her that her father's died in a plane crash. They plan a wake at their old house in Winter River and pick up Astrid, Lydia's daughter, along the way. In the middle of the wake, Rory proposes to Lydia, and she reluctantly accepts, agreeing to be married on Halloween, which is in 2 days. Mortified by her mother's decision, Astrid hauls some ass on her bike and runs into a seemingly harmless boy in town named Jeremy, who invites her to come back over on Halloween night. On Halloween, Astrid learns Jeremy is a ghost, and he convinces her to help him get his life back by promising she can see her deceased father once again. Discovering Jeremy's past as a murderer, Lydia reluctantly calls upon Beetlejuice for help. He agrees, but only if she promises to marry him in order to protect him from his soul-sucking dead ex-wife named Dolores. Meanwhile, Delia is communing with the soul of her dead husband in a graveyard, and she's bitten in the neck by 2 asps and dies. In the afterlife, Jeremy explains he's tricked Astrid into reciting an incantation that gives her soul to him. As she's being carried away to the soul train, which transports souls to the great beyond, she passes by her father. Lydia finds Astrid and rescues her, and the whole family share a moment together. Beetlejuice then finds Jeremy and sends him to hell. Lydia and Astrid return to Winter River and run to the church just in time for Lydia's wedding. Delia enlists Beetlejuice to get back to the real world, and they crash the wedding. Beetlejuice injects Rory with some truth serum and confirms he's using Lydia for fame and money. Dolores shows up and tries to marry Beetlejuice, but Astrid unleashes a sandworm, and it consumes Dolores and Rory. Astrid also cites the handbook and explains Beetlejuice's marriage contract is now void. Lydia sends him back to the afterlife, and Delia goes as well to be reunited with her headless husband. Lydia films the final episode of her ghost program and chooses to spend time with her daughter. She then has a nightmare about Astrid giving birth to a Beetlejuice baby, and then wakes up in bed next to Beetlejuice, and then wakes up for real and finds herself alone in bed. Roll credits.
And there's just so fucking much of this movie.
It feels like they had like 3 like separate movies and just kind of like crammed it all together.
I really did.
I was operating right up until the end. I was operating under the assumption that there were so many threads being set up because very clearly by the name Beetlejuice, they intend to have a third, is what I was thinking.
Yeah.
But then instead they just kind of wrote everything off and then just did a fucking dance number and called it a day. Like, I don't understand it one bit.
Dude, with everything they just left hanging, they fucking milked the shit out of that goddamn dance scene. God,
It was the whole song, which I don't know
I
how
couldn't believe
it felt
kept
like 5 minutes at
And
least.
It was so long.
Yeah.
And it wasn't
Yeah.
even, I know they're trying to recapture the Deo and whatnot of the original. But dude, it just did not, I'm not even really familiar with that song, and it wasn't,
Me either.
it's not catchy in the way that like Deo, like just felt so like such a strange choice.
I think I wasn't familiar with it either, and I think that was like honestly part of the issue. Like I don't think I wasn't familiar with Harry Belafonte when I watched the
That's
original
fair.
Beetlejuice
Yeah.
either, but it was more fun. It was more kind of like
Yeah.
silly seeming. It's like, oh, this is like a weird like Caribbean beat going here in this fucking ghost movie.
Yeah.
And in this one, it felt very, very like theater kid. Like, and
Mm.
you know, there's nothing inherently wrong with that. I could see that working, but it works better if I know the song. And if, I don't know, I just don't, I didn't get a whole lot out of that in the same way. It felt like they really needed a dance number where Beetlejuice makes people dance. And that was what happened. So,
Yeah.
And
It
they
just
did
paled in comparison to the
it
original because
did
that's
because
a
oh, go ahead.
I mean,
Sorry.
it's just clearly what they're trying to recreate, and you know it, and you're like, it's not as good. Like, you know,
Yeah.
Yeah, and the
exactly.
first one they didn't use the whole song, and they
Yeah.
all were kind of like operating together. The only one who actually kind of cracked me up while doing it, or that I remember that at least sticks out in my mind of was the preacher. His like he's got some
Mhm.
crazy lips or
The way
whatever,
he
but
moves his jaw is
yeah,
like
yeah, it was the
He was
only
like
like,
thing that was
unhinged.
distinct
he was off
about it.
center. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I
He wasn't
really
not,
was
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was kind of disappointed. I thought that guy, that character, was going to play more of a role in this film, and he just absolutely didn't.
Dude,
I
it's
Yeah.
was really
so
disappointed by
fucking
that.
weird.
Yeah.
This really is like three movies in one because like earlier in the movie they did something to clearly set him up, which
Yeah.
is he had this like long-winded thing at the father's funeral. What's his name? Charles?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no, not Charles. Is it Charles?
It is Charles. Yeah.
Anyway, okay, Mr. Dietz. So like at his funeral, the preacher is talking to Catherine O'Hara, and he's just like doing all these things, talking about the rich Elysium fields and all this stuff, talking about the afterlife. And then later on, we see those things on the train board for the afterlife, which I guess that's what the payoff was. But I thought that he was going to come in clutch, like knowing something that would help
Mhm.
them in some way navigate or something. Like it just seemed like that was a setup for something, and that's the story of this whole movie. Is like everything seems like a setup for something that 80% of which just doesn't happen. Like
Or
fucking his.
yeah, if it does, it
Sorry.
doesn't matter at all.
Yeah.
Did you guys
Sorry,
notice his character, the priest character? I don't remember what his name is or whatever. They like very low key hint that he's like a booze hound because at the wake
Yeah.
he's drinking wine and it is filled to the fucking brim.
I
And then
didn't
later in the
notice
movie when
that.
he picks up somebody,
Just
I
got
don't
a
remember.
ton of
Somebody
bottles.
gets in the car. Yeah, he's got like just a bunch of bottles. Or
It
whatever.
was
It's like
Justin Theroux's character right after
was
like
it? Yeah.
the shrunken head escape, which
Yeah.
another thing unresolved. I don't know.
They're
Like,
just running
shrunken
around
head
still,
people
I guess.
in this
Yeah.
town now.
Just a bunch of
I don't know.
bobs running
Yeah, I
around.
And
mean,
I thought,
and
yeah.
even
Sorry,
the
go ahead.
setup of the kind of the girlfriend or whatever, where she like it has good elements of it. Like when she staples herself together, I
Oh,
thought like, oh
Dolores.
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's a lot. I thought like, okay,
Yeah.
that's okay. Them giving Beetlejuice this backstory was very unnecessary, but the way that they did it was mildly entertaining. The
The
voice,
flashback.
yeah, the kind of
I
like
didn't care for that.
flashback and the voice, how he kept like switching to different voices
Yeah.
was kind of a thing, and
I liked
it
it.
was stylized. Yeah, I kind of liked it. Like it
That
was
scene specifically
okay.
made me think of you because before they roll into it, he's like, yeah, I was tied down once, and I know what you guys are thinking. Like, what woman could possibly satisfy all of Juice's needs? And I was like, and he kept calling himself Juice, and I was like, this is something that Justin would say. Like, it was cracking me up, man.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but it just I was blown away that that whole character did nothing. It
Yeah,
didn't do anything.
you could remove it,
Yeah.
and it wouldn't really affect the movie hardly at all. I think
Yeah.
it's
That's the
just
thing is,
like it
sorry.
feels so half baked, and I think the design of the character is cool. It feels like I don't know, Tim Burton needs to have like he's got this like boner for like undead women or something, and they
Well, yeah.
have to be in
Pale
there.
undead women.
I don't know if it's
Yeah.
just the undead ones personally, but
Yeah,
allegedly.
they are married now, so
Well, I don't
there
know,
you
man.
go.
It just like the thing is like I didn't love the setup of like the flashback because it just seemed like they just burned right through it, and it was like I don't think knowing where Beetlejuice came from was a question I wanted answered ever, and I
No.
don't think it was entertaining enough to justify itself, and it definitely wasn't narratively satisfying because the character just gets like how does she just kind of gets blown away at the end somehow like I don't, what? No, the
It
sandworms
gets
just eat her. Just a
sandworms.
sandworm
Yeah,
Oh,
shows up and just
Jesus
eats her. Her
Christ.
and Justin
Yeah.
Thoreau, who at least gets an arc a little bit, but she's just wandering around sucking souls out of people. She kills Danny DeVito. She kills a couple other people. She kills Bob, who Bob is another like dangling thread. Like he gets killed, but he like serves no function otherwise, just to be like a one-off gag. And the original Beetlejuice movie isn't like it's not like it hangs together perfectly or whatever, but it is
No.
charming the whole way through. And this thing is just like it's too much scattershot going on. I need it to focus a little bit.
Yeah, there's too much going on in this movie, but I think given all of these like legacy sequels that have been coming up, and we've reviewed a handful of them, this
Mhm.
doesn't commit a lot of the sort of most egregious sins that some of those are kind of prone to. Like this
It dodges a
doesn't
few.
feel like super over the top pandery to its fan base. It's not like constant callbacks, or at least not that I picked up anyways. It also like is still trying to be a comedy, which is something that like I can't stand those new Ghostbusters movies because they're like so overly reverent for the
That's
original
fair, yeah.
two movie.
Yeah.
This is still trying to be funny at the end of the day. And I had me laughing fairly consistently too, which I really dig that. And it tried some new things for better or worse. It did like actually try to expand on like the afterlife and the underworld, and like we
Yeah.
got to see different aspects, and it wasn't just the exact same thing. So I give it some
It
bonus
wasn't.
points for those things.
I really like the main bonus point is the one you mentioned, which is that they didn't go super hyper reverent, which is like the big
Yeah.
mistake that we've seen in Ghostbusters and other places as well, Star Wars, everywhere. Like just because we all love this movie doesn't mean we like need this movie to be a biblical statement about the
Right.
property.
Yeah.
Like it can
Yeah.
be just a silly little thing. And it does that, and it like goes all kinds of places. If it had just committed to a few less different arenas to play in, I think I would have enjoyed this a lot more. But it is like each thread individually is kind of fun, and it's all bolstered by the same thing that held pinned down the entirety of Beetlejuice, which is it looks fucking great. Like the entire
does.
movie looks great.
Yeah,
I
it
loved
does.
every weirdo we found in the afterlife. The melting man is like my favorite fucking guy I've ever seen in my life. He's the best. Like he's just on screen for like 1 second and then
The
gets
hot
killed by
dog
Dolores.
Eater contest, the whatever
Yeah.
guy
Yeah,
choked
yeah,
on
There
his
was
hot
cool,
dogs,
yeah, there was cool moments of that. Yeah, all the deaths and stuff like that.
burnt up Santa Claus was a nice touch.
Yeah.
She says
Yeah.
Merry Christmas. He goes, it's pretty great.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah.
just it like but there were also moments that the animations in this looked really janky. The Charles little storyline where he gets
I
eaten
did
by the
not care for
shark.
that.
Me neither, dude.
It
It's a
Me
felt
means to an end,
neither.
but
It
that end
is,
wasn't
yeah.
worth it.
It
I don't think.
wasn't.
Yeah.
And
You
then
know-
also too, the sandworms look so janky, and that was one of those moments of like, we're doing a sequel. Remember that they're sandworms, and her being like,
Yeah.
well, that's Saturn, so we're on some Saturn's moon. It's still plagued by those things of just like this awkward, janky dialogue that doesn't feel natural at all. And it's gotta be like, if you haven't seen the original Beetlejuice or it's been a long time, let me explain to you how this is tied into the original one. It's like, Jesus
Mhm.
Christ, people, this is not how dialogue work or like
Could have
should
done without the
function.
sandworms kind of
Yeah,
entirely. Really,
Me
just take them
too.
out of
They
the
don't
movie.
look good.
And
There's-
that was
yeah.
one like copy paste moment from the ending of the original. The sandworm just kind of saves the day, and I was like, don't do this thing. Don't do something else, But
Yeah. Ugh.
whatever.
I
Whatever.
don't know, man. Like they set up this like all kinds of like a soul sucker that kills you for real, and
Yeah.
like all kinds of
Yeah.
like they have a fucking serial killer 90s kid that's in it for no other reason than just to give fucking Jenna Ortega something to do.
I like that
It's-
angle. That kid.
I did
I
like
Me
that
really
too,
angle
but they
liked
did
that.
nothing.
I
But
did
then they
like
just
that
drop him through a
angle.
Yeah.
fucking trap door. That is
Straight to
it.
hell. Yeah.
I mean, here's
This-
how, like, look, okay, I know we do this a few times. Here's how you rewrite some of this to actually make it matter, okay? So one
Here we go.
is you have one, like, also two, Beetlejuice, like, being the guy that kind of like saves the day. You don't need that. Beetlejuice needs to serve as the bad guy. But what you could have is you could have this bad guy of the serial killer, and he could be taken out by, he should have been taken out by the soul sucker, because the soul sucker actually kills you
Mhm.
for real. But another one that they should have done is, I thought that the dad was going to like sacrifice to have some kind of emotional weight. I thought the dad was
Mhm.
going to somehow sacrifice himself to the soul sucker or something, or somebody, or maybe even Charles or somebody, like to have some consequence of there being a soul sucker, that you're gone forever. But
Mhm.
Yeah.
nothing ever
She
happens with
She
it.
kills the red shirts. She just kills nobody that really
Yeah,
Yeah,
matters.
and
nobody
then
that
she gets
matters
killed
at
herself
all.
in an
Yeah.
Yeah.
unimpressive
Yeah.
way.
The way the movie starts with
Squandered.
her assembling herself, it really does solidify in your head that like, oh, this is the big bad of the movie, and it's all gonna come
Yeah.
down to her. And then she vanishes for like an hour, and like you just don't
She's
see
like
her at
wandering
all.
through the
She
halls.
literally,
Yeah.
she's literally like a secondary thought through the rest of the movie. The only thing, good thing, the best thing that comes out of her, besides like just generally her visual look, is
Brandy.
the is just, well, no, like it's a cool thing with the like
I
staples
know
and
what
shit.
you mean. I know what you mean.
But like, what was I going? Oh, when he's like confronted by Willem Dafoe, I was like, "Do you know this woman?" And the eye popping, I thought that was a hilarious cartoony bit. Like
Yeah,
anytime it
me
went full
too,
cartoon,
Yeah.
it was a lot of fun, and that was fine with me. But it just, none of that justifies like, yeah, starting on her, giving her like a long time of screen time to start, and then just not a lot to do otherwise. There's just a lot of that going around. There's two parental dad figures in Charles and Jenna Ortega's dad. There's and stepdad de jour, Justin Theroux, who like got one line that made me chuckle, and I don't even remember what it was.
Really?
And otherwise, is kind of a red shirt. Go
I
ahead.
liked his character. He felt like like an Otho kind of stand-in
I think that's what they
surrogate
were going
character.
for,
'Cause
like
he's
just
like
a
this
weirdo.
like super modern man who's
Yeah,
like, you
okay.
know, sensitive and in touch and like, but also basically leeching off the family in a similar way that Otho was. But I thought
Yeah,
he
okay.
was funny, to be honest. Like he had a few lines that
I
made me
thought he was
chuckle.
marginally funny. I enjoyed
Yeah.
his like, but they overplayed him is the problem, and I
They
think that
did, yeah.
I think they overplayed him. They underplayed. That's the thing, is like the balances are just all off in general, because Willem Dafoe is in it, but is he really in it? What does he matter in it? He like, even when he comes in at the end of the
Yeah.
fucking movie, him and all his whole crew gets like frozen. I thought when I saw this like band of undead cops coming in, that the Bob Cotillion was gonna come in and save the day on behalf of
Yeah.
Beetlejuice or something. Like, there's all these threads just dangling everywhere,
Yeah.
and they use none of them. Instead, they do a dance number that lasts too long, and then do a fucking pointless dream sequence where Beetlejuice turns to the camera and says, "I love a good dream sequence," and that's like,
When that happened, I
s-
was like, is he serious? Was that really a dream sequence? Like what?
just all of it. I was like, none of this feels like if none of it feels like the ending that was originally written. It feels like they had a sequel, like a trilogy in mind, and funding ran short or something, or like they couldn't get Michael Keaton to commit or something like that. So they just had to truncate it into one movie and just like, but they didn't want to sacrifice any of the elements at all. That's what it feels like. That's the overwhelming feeling I get from it. That said, each individual component, for the most part, are things that I'm generally okay with, and it all looks great, and the tenor of it is still comedic and not over reverent for the most part. Even the thing that I was gonna point out as like a ding, which is the chorus singing Harry Belafonte at Charles's
Dude,
funeral,
oh my
which seemed real,
God.
like, was, they had that in the trailer, and I hate that in the trailers, and I hate that in general. But then I found out that Glenn Shadix, who played Otho, had a children's choir sing that song at his funeral, and I took it as an homage to him,
Oh,
maybe.
Oh,
And I
okay.
really like that.
That
So
is
like
nice,
that kind of
yeah.
made me forgiving towards it.
Okay,
Yeah.
Otherwise, like they didn't. I don't think they harped too much on the original. They for God's sake, they completely sideswiped the Maitlands entirely. It's like, oh, they found a loophole. Literally, that is the line. They found a loophole. They got
Yeah.
out.
Which
like Glenn, what's her name? Gina Davis was interviewed by Entertainment Tonight or something I saw, and she's like, "Yeah, they just never called me. I don't know why."
That's
Well, now we know why.
wild. Oh
Because
my
there's too fucking much in
God.
this movie already.
Or
There's
even
way too
that could have
much.
been, if you wanted to add the soul sucker, that could have been part of the emotional weight. Is like, even if you had like the back of their head, Gina Davis has very distinct hair, and you don't have to do some
Mhm.
de-aging bullshit of like having them get their soul sucked and then they're gone. You're like, oh my God, the Maitlands who you cared about in the first film. Or I don't know. There needs to be some emotional weight, I feel like, tied to that character to make it feel like it's got some kind of stakes, I guess. I don't know.
It's
I
just
think
very strange.
the
Go ahead.
highlight of this movie for me, just in general, was almost every line that Catherine O'Hara dropped was fucking hilarious.
She was probably the
Some of them were.
best.
Yeah, she is
Yeah,
the best.
she's so
She made me
over the
laugh a few
top.
times.
The
Yeah.
like the funeral shroud on the house, dude. I loved that bit so much. I thought that was hilarious. Her
Mhm.
like the headstone that she has crafted for her husband is a giant shark's fin. Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
she's, I don't know, man.
Yeah.
She was banging on
The
all
way manner of her
cylinders.
death is actually fucking hilarious. But it like
Yeah.
it took me
Yeah.
like after I was like, oh, are they really killing her this way? But then like I don't know, like 10 minutes later, I was like, actually, that's pretty fucking great. I kind of love
And
it.
When-
But
her
it took me-
her
I had to
being
warm
in
up
the
to it.
lobby and stuff, like that was, I think that
Yeah.
worked really well. Yeah.
It seemed like her getting into the lobby seemed like the part where I was like, oh man, this feels a little fan servicey. But like just her dying because of her fucking
Yeah,
dumb,
art.
like arrogant artist bullshit. Like I kind of love that. Also,
Yeah.
like I don't know, all of her
Her-
stuff for the most part was enjoyable, at least.
when she was trying to accurately capture grief and just screaming into her camera, dude,
Yeah.
probably my favorite part of the movie. I just loved her character, man. I thought she was great.
Me too.
I got a lot of laughs out of her. Did you guys know? I didn't know until after I saw the movie and was trying to do some like trivia and research and stuff. What's his name? Jeffrey Jones.
Mhm.
Do you guys know his situation?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that. Yeah.
He was
His
not
situation.
in the
Yeah, I'm
movie
sorry, go ahead.
because he's allegedly a pedophile.
Oh,
So
man.
that's
Who's
No, I
that,
think he got arrested
Charles?
for that. He got
Charles.
Oh,
Yeah.
I
was-
just thought he was dead.
No, he's alive.
no, he's alive.
Oh, really? What's his name?
He hasn't worked since like Deadwood. I don't
Jeffrey
remember.
Jones.
Jeffrey Jones, yeah.
So Burton came up with the idea that he died and got his head bitten off, I guess, so you can just have this,
Yeah, which
shambling corpse.
okay. Yeah. Yeah.
It's a smart way around it, but then they also show his whole fucking face on the gravestone, which is not a typical place to see someone's face. Why do that?
That's
Why-
true.
why-
seen
why-
that. Yeah.
I've seen it, but it's not common.
You don't.
You
Yeah, you
could-
didn't need it. Yeah.
You could get around if you're gonna totally like hand wave the Maitlands, like you don't have to put his
Yeah.
face on the grave, you can
Right. And
buy
but
off
they
of it.
also did like the 3D segment of his like shark attack or whatever, which again was a means to an end because he couldn't be in it or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's just I don't know, like have him written out at the having his death be the cause of them regrouping at this place where he loved living and all that stuff. That's all really brilliant, like way to get things going. Like brilliant. It's a very steady way of getting things going.
Brilliant.
They just like that. You don't need to do more with that. You've already got a father figure for Jenna Ortega that you can like look to as like a lost parental figure sort of thing, and rekindling with those who are still alive and all that. Like all that shit is still there. You can do all the same things. You don't need him in it. They
Yeah.
ultimately didn't need the Maitlands either, but they threw in so much more that it feels like a slight just because they were the only things left out. Like,
Yeah. How did you guys feel about Beetlejuice, like Michael Keaton as reprising his role as Beetlejuice in this?
For
he's
the
an older
most
man.
part, yeah, that's the thing. But I mean, when we're doing these kind of things, like he's supposed to have a lot of makeup, and so
Mhm.
it mostly works, which is why like the kind of backstory was kind of dumb in some way, because that's where I noticed it the most, is because
Yeah,
He's
that's
old.
fair.
Yeah.
So, and they just had I mean they tried to work around it, and they did okay because it's black and white and stuff like that.
Mhm.
But like Randy said, is the highlights of the moment where Beetlejuice was being Beetlejuice, like the cartoony face, and then him saying like, "I've never seen that woman in my life." Like those were the moments that you get.
Spilling his guts. and-
Yeah, I spill my guts, and yeah, and his little comments about being the psychiatrist and stuff like that. Like the character felt on brand. The character felt like consistently on brand
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah.
I agree. I think that like the way he is written is in keeping with with generally how I see him in the original one for the most part. The problem is just like he sounds different now. Like
Yeah.
it's just he doesn't
36
feel like
years
he has
have
the same
passed.
vigor, and there's
Yeah.
no
Yeah.
like that's not a dig on Michael Keaton because time has passed and he was
Yeah.
begged to come back for this.
Yeah.
So like he's doing his job, he's putting his best foot forward, he's putting forward the best performance he can, but he's just a different guy. Like at this point,
It's like
Yeah.
when
He
Harrison
sounds a little
Ford's
different.
like 80 years old and
Right.
they're
As
asking
Indiana
that dude to
fucking
be
Jones.
It's hard to
fucking
feel
action
like
star. It's like,
he's
I
not
mean,
like
come on, guys, let's
sexy
let this
Han
guy.
Solo
Yeah.
anymore. He's an elderly
Yeah.
guy, but at least you can write that into the story of Star Wars if you want to. In this, he has to be like an
The
eternal
same.
of some
Yeah.
kind.
Yeah.
So he has to be
Yeah.
the same. He's supposed to but like the way his voice is deeper. He's more subdued generally. Even when he's going big, it's not quite as big as he used to be able to get, and that's to be expected. But it still feels a little bit short.
Well, it's like,
at the
yeah, it's
end.
like when they, that's the thing. People need to let this shit go. And I saw, we'll talk about it in a second, but it's like when they did Hocus Pocus 2. And I just thought,
Mhm.
like, these women just look so much significantly older, which it has nothing to do with their looks. It's just like they're supposed to be long living creatures.
Witches.
Why would they
Yeah,
get
yeah.
older? Like, it's just dumb. And it like, I don't know. It in some ways it kind of like makes me feel bad because it makes it feel like their talents or their like it's just like reduced to this one role. Like, oh, well, let's just bring you back and do it again. It's just like, I mean, they can do other things,
The
like,
IP
Well,
is
Michael Keaton-
yeah,
recognizable.
we don't need
Nobody
these
is saying
endless
Michael Keaton can't do more.
IPs.
Everybody knows they can do more. It's just,
I
the
know, I know.
will
It
let
makes me
those,
feel
I
bad
think.
that, yeah, it's just like, I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah.
It
they don't get the
just-
opportunities. I know what you mean. I know,
It's just kind of awkward. Yeah, it's kind of like,
is.
yeah, it's kind of like, I don't know if bringing Bill Dauterive back to play linebacker when he's in his fucking
Right.
40, and
Man,
it's just
nice
like,
King of the Hill rap.
yeah,
the real person, Bill
Nice.
Dauterive.
Yes.
Famed person.
But
Bill
it
Dauterive.
feels like that. It's like you're not a 16, 17-year-old kid. It's like, I mean, time has passed. You had this thing and people love it. Why can't we just accept that? I don't know why
thing
we
is,
got to
like-
keep doing this. And they just announced the fucking
Exactly. It's the money.
Goonies sequel thing. And I'm
Money,
just like,
yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Dude, we have to review Goonies too. If that's a thing that happens,
I'm so
we
terrified
gotta
to do
talk
that.
If Corey Feldman's in that movie, I don't want to watch it. That dude
I-
creeps me out. He's weird. He's a
I feel-
weirdo. He's a
I feel
weirdo.
Are you
bad.
waiting to receive my limp penis?
He's a
I feel
weirdo
bad for
freak.
Corey Feldman.
I
think
don't.
he's-
I think he's
Really?
weird.
He
kinda
is weird, but I
creeps
think he
me
had a
out.
really tough childhood, and that's not
Well,
necessarily.
so
his
did
is not-
Michael
this is not the
Jackson.
conversation
I
we need
know.
to have right now.
Oh my god! Yeah, this is not. We can't.
No.
Yeah. Okay.
But
yeah.
anyways, we need to stop doing this because ultimately what I thought about this movie, coming back to this movie and the recommendation is I thought, I watched this movie, I experienced it. I actually got to see it in theaters. That's at theaters now in Korea. And it was a fine movie theater going experience to kind of kick off Halloween because it had a lot of Halloween stuff, which that element felt a little pandery to me. There were definitely some pandery moments in here that I felt. But ultimately, when it was done, I was like, it didn't really make me feel anything. And I don't really ever want to watch it again. Not that it's like was so
Mhm.
bad, but it was just like there's nothing in this movie that I feel like I just have to go back for. There wasn't
I think
anything.
that's totally fair.
Yeah, they would
Yeah.
just so great or good or classic or fun or exhilarating or creative, or it just I thought like I just experienced something, but I don't ever need to go back to it again. And just like it's just so disposable, it feels like.
Yeah.
It feels. Sorry, Rob. Go ahead.
Just to add to that feeling of it being kind of disposable, I feel like whatever they did or didn't do with Lydia Dietz's character, like she was such the core in some respects, I guess, to the original, and like it didn't seem like they had really thought much
They didn't
about
know what to do with her.
developing her. Yeah, she just kind of exists in this movie, and I guess she's addicted to pills, but that doesn't really have like she throws them away and like takes one, and it doesn't really seem to do much. And then she just kind of marries a dude she's not really into, and just I don't know, man. Like I felt like they really shifted her a little bit in this, and probably more
The
than
thing
the
is,
rest of the characters.
it's a tough one for her though, because when she's in the first one, she is so like young and very obviously kind of naive, but also in command of herself. She's very like self-reliant in a lot of ways. And in this movie, she is the opposite of that. And it's like I feel like that's maybe what they were trying to do is like, okay, well, she went from this self-reliant kid to somebody who like is being led around by the nose by this obvious fucking charlatan in Rory. And it's like I don't, and like get pressured into getting married and all that stuff. Like this feels wrong. Like
Yeah,
it
it's
feels wrong.
weird.
I
And
feel
like,
like the character,
and then
yeah.
Beetlejuice being the one to help her like knock him out, literally being the one to help him hurt, like
Mhm.
that just feels like this is not your friend. This doesn't it doesn't hang together well for me. It doesn't feel like in service to the character. It feels like in service to making a sequel, and that's a key difference. I just don't
Yeah.
see this movie as it never was necessary. It wasn't necessary back when they were going to do Beetlejuice Goes Hawaii, and it's certainly not necessary in 2024. Like none of that's necessary. So I just if you're going to do it, I think that there's a pretty high bar to match. And for me, the thing that made this movie work was knowing they were never going to touch that bar and just having the rock bottom expectation
It
of a movie
helps.
that, yeah,
Yeah.
like if I went in there like kind of excited, I would have been completely underwhelmed, like on a huge, much huger scale. Like having seen the Hot Ones homage that they did with Michael Keaton to promote this movie, like that really like settled me in the bottom. Okay, I was like, this is like Shrek 3 territory now. This is not a real movie. Like,
This is
but then I watched the movie. I was like, oh, you know what? It still looks great. They actually recaptured a lot of stuff. It's practical effects. They do some cartoony shit. They're making cracking jokes. It's cracking wise. It may not have the same energy level in Michael Keaton, but it is certainly trying to. And I got to give credit for that. It's just not necessary in the end. And I don't I think that at the end of the day, this movie is at best sort of an enjoyable oddity, and that's fine. The original is still
Mhm.
kind of like spectacular to me. It's a fucking
Yeah.
great movie. We all gave it a 5, didn't we?
No. None
No?
of
We
us
didn't.
gave it a 5, actually.
Is
I
that
don't
true?
remember.
That's true.
That's
I could have
mind
sworn we did. But
blown.
anyway, whatever.
No,
Like
we
it
didn't.
seems
I don't think any of us did.
I love the original movie, and this movie is like it just feels very hollow. And the thing is, Tim Burton as a director was in his peak at that time because he was battling against sensibilities that weren't his. Once those
Yes.
sensibilities started following and channeling through him, and he started like remaking Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and Dumbo and being like a Disney mainstay, that's when things like it's hard to be an indie weirdo when you're mainstream as fuck. Like, and this feels mainstream as fuck.
Well,
I don't want to use the
yeah.
word sell out or anything because like anybody who makes a movie of this scale is going to be called that on some level. But I mean, he was like an indie darling and that made it big, and then like just eventually had all of his cool ideas siphoned into projects that aren't worthy of it. That were like, and this feels like maybe a victory lap, but it's not a well done one.
Dude, did you know his Charlie and the Chocolate Factory movie grossed over $1 billion?
So
I
I
don't
think
doubt
we
it 'cause
had
people
this
weren't ready for that
discussion
kind of thing then.
either. I think with the original Beetlejuice, where we were talking about like I think the younger generation, that's their Tim Burton movie. It's not like if you talk to anyone who's in their 20s, It's Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. It's not anything else. It's not Batman. It's not. Yes, I am
I don't think so.
pretty
Like, I don't.
confident in that statement.
Well, okay, I'm thinking of. I thought
It
you meant
made
in
a
comparison
lot
to
of
Willy
money.
Wonka.
Like that would no, I mean, no, yeah, no, I'm
in
saying
his-
that's
in
their
his-
Tim Burton film. That's
see what you're
their
saying.
Tim Burton film is Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. So that's what they associate Tim Burton with. Like that's his film. And actually the younger generation likes that movie quite a lot. But I think the frustrating thing about this too is there are like, so you get the classic Tim Burton look, which is great. And I think that there is like a lot of solid foundation there. This could have been a really good movie. You already established the look, and that's good. But actually, I think there is a pretty good storyline, at least like the foundation of one for Lydia, especially because her stepmom kind of delivers it too. She's like, this is giving me so much joy after all the shit like that you gave me. You have these 3 generations of women where like, and like if the daughter like associated more with like Delia or something, like you need to have that same kind of like rebellious nature. And I like the idea of Lydia sees ghost and her daughter is resentful for her because she misses her dad, and she's like, well, why can't you see my dad? And so I think you're a fraud. I don't believe you. I think that's got the bones of a good, like, I don't
Yeah.
need her to be addicted to pills and like to get married. See, I didn't like the boyfriend character, and one of the reasons it's because it completely undercut the character of her. And I thought the weirdo like guy that was going to give us some of those kind of like Otha things was gonna be the preacher, just this kind of weird side character that doesn't necessarily affect the characters in their way, who just like comes in and does some crazy shticks or whatever. Like, because the boyfriend makes the character of Delia like so kind of shitty, I wasn't like enjoying him. Like his little shticks and stuff didn't seem like crazy Otho things because they were specifically like targeting her in a very negative way, where Otho's just this fucking, he's just in
Well,
having a good time or whatever.
And
I
he's
don't know.
milking the family for money, but it
He
doesn't feel
is.
as negative. I
No,
agree.
Well,
no, yeah. He's
it
not
doesn't, but,
throwing
like,
their
also-
medication in the trash or like or
Yes.
or he's not manipulating their mental states. He's feeding into her artistic nature, but
Her
he's not
ego.
like, yeah, but he's not like, I don't know, dangerous.
I don't know, like, I think I liked what he could have represented. The thing is, like, he kind of toes the line where he's like just acceptable enough to where like you think it's possible that all this bullshit is just him, like incapably trying to ingratiate himself to her family, and just the family being unwilling to because it's Delia Dietz who doesn't give a shit about that, and it's fucking Asterd. And she's like an estranged kid that doesn't want her father to be forgotten. Like there's reasons for the family not to like him. In a more typical movie, I could see that being like the eventually accepting the weirdo stepdad, the Sean Astin in Stranger Things character.
Yeah.
Like that could have worked. But like having him go full evil or whatever, it's kind of entertaining, but it's definitely not Otho. And like when I think about all the characters in this are like, they're trying to all kind of be like quirky, interesting characters. And I think that they all could be, they're just not used properly. It feels like you said, like the preacher, he's kind of got that vibe. I think that I like the serial killer kid or whatever. Like I just like
I'm
the
okay with
boyfriend
that, yeah.
thing, like that he's secretly, I feel like there could be something with that. The thing is, there's no room for Beetlejuice in any of that. And so like this movie's called Beetlejuice Beetlejuice. And I feel like all the movies that we want to see out of this are ones that remove Beetlejuice from the equation, or it's a movie about Beetlejuice, and it just tries to like force those things together.
Well, I don't think, I mean, even in the original film, we mentioned it a lot that like, oh, he's only in like 12 minutes of the actual film. I think it's okay. What I think one big problem that we have is, and actually maybe that what you just said would have solved this problem is the Maitlands are very normal and grounded, and it's this inverse of a ghost story where the ghosts are the normal ones and the weirdos are the families that
Yeah.
invade the house. So
There
that's
is no
a
fish out
fun
of water
spin.
here.
Yeah, and
That's
actually,
true.
if you had Delia have a boyfriend that was more like Mr. Maitland, which would kind of make sense because at the end, like they're helping her with their homework and stuff like that. So you've got this
Lydia.
crazy Lydia, sorry. You've got this crazy family, and if maybe like the daughter was like super weird or something too, but the boyfriend was like super normal, goofy guy or
Mhm.
whatever, but Delia's still gothic and she could still have her like crazy show, but he's just like very supportive and about, I don't know, you need some normal person. Everybody's trying to be kooky. Everybody's trying to be a fucking
I
hot
guess
topic action figure.
Jenna Ortega is kind of that character here because she thinks
Uh,
all the ghosty stuff is bullshit. She's just at school. I mean, the most grounded character, I guess you could
yeah.
say, in the
I don't
movie.
know how to
But it's
describe her arc though. Like
she
Yeah,
doesn't
she didn't really
believe, and then
do
she just does
anything.
believe. And
she's
Yeah.
like, it's like, oops, I'm sorry, I didn't believe you for all these years. And it's
yeah,
like
I
that
feel like
works for
she's
for Lydia, but it doesn't work for her.
And then at the end
she's
when she
underbaked, just
just
like everyone else is, really.
yeah, when she spouts, I hate when she was like, "Oh, that contract is null and void because blah blah blah." Dude, they just end everything.
They do,
It's
yeah.
so
Yeah.
I read that book,
terrible.
and so everything's done.
Yeah, she didn't
That
Like,
read the
feels
fixed it
so
book.
all.
tacked on. Like
Yeah,
that's
she
another
did.
line where I'm like, this feels
Well, I mean,
so
she
much
did, but
like they
not.
intended this to continue and it just couldn't for some reason.
Dude, they're gonna make another one.
That's the thing. Like her character
Well,
could have
now
been the one
maybe
who
they made the movie.
doesn't believe. She finds this book of the dead, and like unlike
Mhm.
anyone from the original film, actually becomes an expert in ghost law or something. I don't know. Like just
Ghost Law. Yeah, because
Ghost Law.
that is something that, like, both of these movies, the first one does it probably in a more interesting way. This one dances around a little bit too. They sort of like get so bogged down in like the bureaucracy of the afterlife, and like that's hilarious, right? Why
yeah.
don't we we get more into that? They kind of do a little bit with like the
Mhm.
Soul Train and the stamping of the tickets, and we see
Yeah.
a little bit of the police force, and I like all that. But again, it does feel like a little too surface. Like I would have liked more Willem Dafoe, like you mentioned,
Me
Rainey, like the
too.
cops really like
Well, just
trying to
to have
bust some cases or whatever. But it's just kind of surface level stuff.
the thing is, like all those characters, it's just there's just I just keep going back to the same problem. It's just too much. If they had had time in this movie to have Willem Dafoe like really lean into a noir character and do a bunch of noir shtick or something, maybe that could have worked and have him actually factor into the end and not just be somebody there to deliver a callback to a joke that wasn't funny the first time. Like, and that shit didn't work. And like the boyfriend could be a great fish out of water. Like I don't mean Rory, I mean the serial killer kid. Like if you take out the serial killer thing, if you want Jenna Ortega, like the character could be still ingratiated enough with her mom to be there for or whatever, and then meet this boy, and the boy becomes the fish out of water, and that could be the center. That focuses things in more. You don't have to have every character in this movie having a dozen different interactions or relationships that need to be that are just not expounded upon enough to really matter. I don't know. It feels like it makes everything feel a little bit cheaper. And I wish that you don't need a lot of Beetlejuice, but Beetlejuice needs to be focused on what's happening. There's one part in this movie where Beetlejuice is running around with Lydia in the afterlife, the source of his love or whatever, like all that shit that he talked about and like they talked about pining for. And then she's like, I'm gonna go save Astrid, and he says, okay, I gotta go take care of something else. And then nothing happens. Like he just disappears and then later says, she ran away from me, and like shit like that. What? Like this is not focused. This is not good writing. I don't understand what people are trying to do half the time. Even the title character is just like sidelining himself from the movie and then later coming back and rewriting what happened, and for no good reason other than just needing something to say in the moment.
Randy,
And those are the things I have problem with.
you're landing the plane already. Just go ahead and tell us out of 5. How do you feel?
Okay, well, as negative as I'm being about this, it's really kind of a reaction. A lot of it is a reaction to more of the like legacy sequels in general. I think this out of legacy sequels that I've seen, this is one of the lower offenders. It doesn't offend quite as much as others have. Like I don't have the reaction I have I don't have the reaction towards this I had towards uh, uh, Halloween Ends, for example, or any of those type of things. Like, and I'm more ingratiated to it in that, but I'm not down for it either. I just think it, like, the story in the original wasn't great, but everything was charming and focused on, and it had a fish out of water situation. I think that was a great call, Juice. That, like, yeah, you need a character to ground things, and they don't really have a lot of that. That, at least not that's in the mix well enough. Everything's just kind of like too spread out. Everything like is doing too much, and it just doesn't hang together well at all. Every individual moment, for the most part, is like okay and good and enjoyable. The music's always still great. The visuals are what really make this acceptable at all. Um, I'm gonna go right down the middle with a 2.5. I just think that this has like two or three interesting enough ideas they could have just leaned into, and instead they tried to lean in every direction at once, and it feels haphazard. And after fucking what 35 years, it should not feel that way.
Right on. 2.5 from Randeezy. Juice, how do you feel?
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing is this, it's gonna be like everything else, honestly. I mean, it does stand a little bit above everything because the look of it, and I'm glad Tim Burton was able to kind of pull the look, but this does not feel like a movie where Tim Burton said, you know what, I've got this great idea, and this is why I need to bring Beetlejuice back. This feels like a corporate bullshit. It feels like it was concocted in a boardroom, and the story feels so like such a mess because it's a hodgepodge of just people throwing their ideas together. Nobody really cares. They just need some product. And so they just need something that's good enough to get them through. And that's what we have. We have this movie that just happens. And it's got all the characters that you know and love, and it's got that Tim Burton look, and it's set on Halloween. And this kid's got some 90s vinyls, and he's playing some cigarettes to get the girl turned on. And he's like,
Mazzy
just,
star.
dude, I'm just like, oh my God. Which that's not even a 90s vinyl. That album came out in like 2002.
Cigarette
Anyways, but it just so it's just there are things that they did a little bit of justice to, or like they delivered on like some of the character aspects and stuff, but then there's a lot that still feels like very pandering to me. But this movie feels very unnecessary. I never saw something like, oh yes, this is worth the first one. Like we said, like I could sum it up, it's an inverse Ghost movie. You know, so like I can easily explain this, the first movie, to someone else, and they could be like, oh, that's a very clever idea. This, if you try to explain this to somebody, it's just like a hodgepodge. You'd have to explain everything else. Like it's impossible. What is it? I don't know. It's
The elevator pitch.
yeah, I don't know
is-
what the elevator
it's a
pitch
sequel
for
to
this is.
Beetlejuice.
It's a
Like,
sequel to Beetlejuice, and
That is it.
they're gonna remember when they did a song in the first one, we're gonna make it longer, and it's just gonna be like, it's just I don't know. But yeah, ultimately, like when I was watching, I'm like, this is fine. And it delivered a fine experience. It wasn't offensive, but it's
Mhm.
still completely unnecessary and unfocused. And they're just like, I don't know. I'll probably never watch this again. And if I'm like thinking about Tim Burton, this is going to be like medium to lower medium of like Tim Burton, maybe. Probably
Medium to loose.
medium to loose. This is a
X.
medium to loose Tim Burton. And so, yeah, I'm going to echo right now. I'm just going to give it a 2.5. It is what it is. That's going to be mostly on the look. And a lot of the performances were pretty decent. Michael Keaton, I thought, did a good job. Willem Dafoe did a good job. Catherine O'Hara did a good job. Jenna Ortega was nothing, man. She just like, that really, and that was part of the like pandering part too. Is like, you know, this girl that was Wednesday Addams, and who is she doesn't like, they don't give her any, and it's not a knock on her,
She's
like
just
they
the
didn't give her
yeah.
anything to do. It's just so we have the girl who played Wednesday Addams and this and this and this, so and she can be in it. I'm like, god damn it, dude. So yeah, 2.5. Bob, how you feel? Out of 5.
I don't necessarily disagree with anything y'all said, but I will admit the needle drops in this got me. I fucking love cigarettes. That Mazzy Star joint was solid. Oh, fucking Danny DeVito listening to Margaritaville. Loved, like,
Yeah.
I was very in on the soundtrack.
Yeah.
Also, like, the updated score, they tweak it just enough. This is still like one of the greatest scores ever
sure.
written.
That
Like,
opening was fun. Yeah.
God, I love that shit so much. So all that definitely like was working for me. Ultimately, this movie, yes, it does not need to exist, but I did have a decent time watching it. It kept me laughing, and I felt like I wasn't being overly pandered to. And I think it does help that this is, just a part two. Like, we haven't had 3 decades of Beetlejuice movies. This isn't number like 12. So it still feels slightly fresher than I think like some of these other legacy sequels, like the Halloween movies or the Alien movie that came out, or the Ghostbusters movies. We've got what, 5 or 6 of those now. It just feels like a little more fresh, and I think that's doing it some favors with me here too.
Yeah.
I like that they expand on like the afterlife and all that. It's ultimately like a fun ride. I'll leave it at that. I think we kind of covered everything else. I'm a little higher than you guys. I'll give this a 3. I think it's a little more positive than negative. And Catherine O'Hara, like, goddamn, dude, my favorite part of the movie, easily my favorite part of the movie. That's gonna put our aggregate at a 2.7 for Beetlejuice. Let's go ahead and jump into our Rotten Tomatoes segment and see what the critics and users have to say.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Rotten Tomato segment in which I'm going to give these gentlemen a chance to guess within the best of their abilities what the aggregate positive score is on RottenTomatoes.com for Beetlemang, the Beetlejuice, the Beetledorse. I don't know what that means, but anyway, we're going to start as we always do with the critics score. There are 256 critic reviews. I'm going to go with Bob to start today. If I can get my computer to work, that would be great. There we go. Bob, there are, like I said, 256 reviews. Out of those reviews, what percentage would you say are positive?
I think this has got to be somewhere close to the middle. I think. For the critics, I don't know. I'll take comedy number. No, that seems too high. I'll take a 65. I'll do that.
65. All right. Dodging the comedy number. You think those 4 extra points are going to come in handy, huh?
We'll find out, man.
We'll find out. All right, Soju, it's up to you now. What are we going to go with here?
I don't know. I mean, even Bob rating this like, a little bit higher, like at a 3. I think this toes the line well enough that it's gonna go more on the side of positives. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think it rides it well enough where everyone's like, okay, like, to where it'll just kind of tip the scales more to a positive side. So I'm not gonna go too high, but I'll say 70. I think it could go higher.
70. All right. Well, some quick math here, and yeah, one of you is pretty close, 7 percentage points away, and that person's going to be Soju. It's a 77% certified fresh film.
Whoa, a little dance there.
Yeah, I know. It did me a little dance. Yeah, this is 77%. I was pretty surprised by that. I was kind of edging towards what Rob was saying. I was always edging towards what Rob was saying.
Thank God. Edge at me.
We're just normal men.
At me.
But yeah, I don't know. Like, it 77. Like, I guess I think it is true that, like, I think that this legacy sequel is benefiting from the shittiness of other legacy sequels.
I think it just toes that line well enough.
You go, oh, thank God.
Kind of.
It's
Well,
enough
or just
original.
like, oh, okay,
Not complete shit. Yeah.
So like, leave the theater
original
and
enough
not feel like shit. Like you just
It's-
consumed
about
like 10
feeling
pounds of
hyper pandered
McDonald's.
to, or hyper reverent, or any of that stuff. It can
Yeah.
just be. It does have pandering, but it is surrounded by a lot of new shit, like an overwhelming amount of new shit. But that's its own problem. So I guess that makes sense. Let's move over to the popcorn meter, the poopometer, the whatever they're calling this thing. 5,000 plus verified ratings on the poopometer here. We'll start with Juice on this one. What do you think those 5,000 plus ratings are going to net to?
I actually think it's gonna be similar. My just so happened, like my parents are texting me and they're like, "Oh, I think we're gonna go see Beetlejuice this week." And I was like, "Oh shit!" Like I think this kind of has a general wide appeal. I think younger people might want to see this. It's only PG-13, and even if they've never seen the original Beetlejuice, I think older crowds will be into it. I think it's just got a wide appeal. So I think it's probably gonna be about the same, honestly. I think this is an extra medium film. So I'll go up to 75.
75. All right, that's a solid C. Bob, what about you?
Yeah, I think it feels like the general temperature of people is like, pretty positive. And I know it made a boatload of money, so I think I'll take the over. You said 75.
Yeah.
I'll take the 80, please.
The 80. All right. Well, one of you is just 2 percentage points away from correct, and that person's going to be Bobo. Bobo, it's an 82 solid on this one. Go to
Whoa.
Bob on that. I was waiting for the whoa. It was late.
The
Wow.
hell yeet and skeet.
Hell yeet and ski. You yeet first and then you ski. I don't
It's
know.
a
what
little
that looks
backwards,
like,
but we'll take it.
whatever.
Take it.
Do what you got to do, guys. No no judgments here.
Hell yeet and ski.
Congrats on that. The critics' consensus, which I forgot to read, reads as follows: Michael
Randy, you
Keaton's
might need
devious.
to restart again. You're starting
I
to
was
robot
wondering.
out.
That's why the
Yeah,
delay, you're like,
apparently-
oh, it's a delay. It's like, well, I said it when the audio got to me.
Gotcha. I'll be right back.
All right.
All right, let's pray that this one works.
Seems
Do
okay
a
so
quick
far.
test here.
So
Yeah.
Come
yeah,
through?
that works. Yeah.
Okay. All right, so I'm gonna just go jump to the critics' consensus again.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, so I forgot to read the critics' consensus, and it reads as follows: Michael Keaton's devious poltergeist still has plenty of juice left in this madcap return to form for Tim Burton, marrying charming practical effects and ghoulish gags to provide a fun time. 2 funs in that. I don't totally disagree with any of that, really. Like, I just don't think it's a total return to form by any means. It's just a victory lap. It's a little bit of a
Yeah.
victory lap, and
Yeah.
it's a money pull. So can't forget that. Yeah, let's read some negative reviews and see if any of them have any funniness to them. See if they're fun. Let's go. Here's one. Beetlejuice 2 doesn't build on the first film or take Burton any further as a director. I don't think anybody expected
Tim Burton's
his-
not going any farther than he's ever gone.
Yeah, I don't.
Tim Burton,
Yeah.
like if anyone's waiting for Tim Burton's peak, you're gonna be disappointed, my friend. Like,
Yeah, I don't know what they're waiting for. The Seventh Seal by Tim Burton. I don't know. Like,
yeah, Tim Burton's just coasting. Tim Burton is just
What is he, like,
cashing checks. dude, I mean.
45 years into his career. Like,
Yeah, I
any
mean-
day now he'll peak.
Yeah, I mean, even the last original thing he did was like 13 years ago. So I mean, just like you're it's not gonna happen.
we'll read one more here. Beetlejuice is a frenzied series of darkly comic sketches and various scraps from random stories introduced in such a hectic whirlpool of emotion that we won't take a breather anywhere, much less care what is being thrown at
Randy,
us every
you're-
5 minutes. I'm not sure if I.
Oh, you sound
You're
like shit.
you're fucking turn your camera off, maybe.
Okay. All right. How's the sound? Testing.
Good. It's good so
Okay,
far.
so far.
Okay. All right. I'm going to try and read the second one again. All right. So here's another one. Just one more negative review here. Beetlejuice is a frenzied series of darkly comic sketches and various scraps from random stories introduced in such a hectic whirlpool of emotion. We won't take a breather anywhere, much less care what is being thrown at us every 5 minutes. Why do I feel like that was like a speech to text issue there.
Yeah, it
It
doesn't sound very
quite
coherent.
makes sense.
Or maybe it's
Professional.
translated or something.
Professional
Yeah,
critic.
I'm going to say this. I think that calling it a frenzied series of darkly comic sketches and various scraps of random stories introduced in a hectic whirlpool, I think that's all very on
Yeah,
point,
that's
personally.
absolutely accurate. Yeah, I mean, like we said, it feels like these like little each character has their own kind of like little vignette going on.
Mhm.
They're just not tied together in any cohesive type of way, unfortunately. And they're not and absolutely none of them have satisfying endings. So
Yeah.
it's like, well, there's some
There's a
interesting
lot.
stuff
Sorry.
going on there, some interesting stuff proposed, but yeah, it's just doesn't really amount to anything.
I'll say this. There are a significant amount of like 50% scores in whatever form that takes. 2 out of 4s, 2.5 out of 4
Yeah.
fives, like out of these negative reviews. So like, I don't think anybody like, not anybody, but it feels like people were at least not hating this. So that might account for the uptick, because like people are just
Yeah.
generally less negative towards it.
Could be.
So yeah,
It's all
that's our
right.
Rotten Tomatoes segment. I think that we might have some trivia. I don't know.
We got a little bit. Let's do it.
All right, here we go.
Where did Bob go wrong? Were he and his friends sifting way too long through those Blu-ray bins? And it gets worse, he'll have no address. He wasted all his dough on those DVDs.
All right, Bob, what's that trivia looking like?
Well, boys, did you notice there was one F-bomb in this and the second one was bleeped?
I did.
I noticed the
notice
bleeped
that
one.
because it was PG-13 and they were playing that as a joke.
Yeah, well, you're allowed one in a
Yeah.
PG-13 movie, and the
That's why
second
every
one,
Avengers movie now has like one F-bomb. But yeah.
I hadn't.
yeah. When
Where
they
where was it the first time?
when he sends the kid to hell, he says, "See you in hell," or "You're going to fucking hell." I don't know. He says it there. I forget
Yeah.
what the line
I
is.
guess I
but
didn't notice. Okay.
Oh,
Too
God.
disappointed by that pointless thread.
Yeah.
the first movie, nice fucking model, is the one they got. I don't know why you'd put another one in if you're just gonna bleep it. I don't know. It felt very weird. I don't know.
I thought
just-
I actually I thought it was calculated for that specific way. I honestly thought that of like, oh, they're really
I'm
playing
sure.
the
Yeah,
joke.
I'm sure that's what they were trying to do.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's weird. It's like, yes, this is a movie. I am watching a movie. Thank you.
Yeah, that's
Got
what the
it.
whole
That's the
thing
thing.
feels like.
The MPAA exists.
It is really weird because like in the original, like, yeah, Beetlejuice does talk a lot like show business language or whatever. It's showtime, all that stuff or whatever. But it's all like kind of colloquialism. It's like there's very little of it that feels like he is. I don't know. He does. Oh, that's why I won't do shows a night anymore. I won't do it and all that stuff. It feels different here because it just feels way more pointed and way more like meta humor. And this franchise, or this like Beetlejuice, I don't necessarily need him to be meta. He can be funny without being meta. I don't see the first one, him talking about show business and talking about being a show, as it being meta. I see it as him being like a little bit of a prima donna, but like, or like being
it's
high on
just
his own
because-
supply a little bit.
No, movies these days, these types of movies, they feel like waiting in line for a theme park ride that's based on a movie. So it
Scorsese would
feels,
approve.
like it feels like, oh, they make this property out of an existing property. So, oh, you got the Hulk roller coaster. And so you're waiting in line for the Hulk roller coaster, and they know that there's an audience waiting for the Hulk roller coaster. So they're talking like at you, or they're putting in these like really terrible dialogue so you can somehow follow this terrible plot line. But instead, you're in a movie theater. It's just like referencing things from another property that's just much, much better. But I don't know, it's so terrible. People need to learn how to make movies again. And I don't.
It's just I think that the general populace sees themselves, and I think this podcast is a great example of this, as being smarter about movies than they are. And so they like meta humor makes people feel like they're in the industry joke a little bit. I think that's a little bit of what's creeping in here. Not as egregious as in other movies, but like, I'm a big fan of like Community and shit like that. Like I like that sort of thing to an extent, but that's a property that's built on that. I really don't think Beetlejuice as a character is built around meta humor so much as he is just full of himself, and that's the character. Like he's a performer. He sees himself as a big performer because he's full of himself, not because he needs to make a joke about whether it's a PG-13 movie and how many F-bombs you can drop, or like it's not diegetically talking at the camera. He's talking to somebody in the movie and he's saying, that's why I won't do 2 shows anymore. Like that makes more sense to me. It just feels like a little bit of a step too far is all I'm trying to say.
Sorry.
Well, the
continue.
next bit of trivia here, Tim Burton stated he was done making movies until he directed the first 4 episodes of the Netflix hit Wednesday show. And I guess that prompted him to reassess and go back.
Open up a can of with ass.
Maybe he should reconsider yet again.
Again.
Let's do a reconsider. Actually, this made too much money. God, things make too much money.
Yep. Yep.
There's
Tim
gonna be a
Burton
Beetle.
and Monica Bellucci, they're dating. They're married, all because of this movie, apparently.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought he put her in there because they were married.
Yeah, I thought that too.
I would have never guessed that.
Let me get him on the horn and we'll figure this plot line out real
Timmy.
quick.
Hey, Tim.
What's
Timbo.
What's going on here,
Timbo
bud?
Slice.
This was your boy Timmy B's 20th feature film. 20
Jesus
movies.
Christ. Not even half of those are good.
That's yeah, I have to look. Well, to be fair, there's probably 4 or 5 I've never seen. So I don't know.
Yeah,
that's fair.
Rainey, you touched on this here. So impressed with the script for Chasing Amy from 1997, Warner Brothers offered Kevin Smith the chance to rewrite some projects for them, including a Beetlejuice sequel titled Beetlejuice Goes Hawaiian. Smith said, "Didn't we say all we needed to say with the first Beetlejuice? Must we go tropical?" And he turned it down. Yeah, good instinct, man.
Yeah.
Good instinct.
Yeah.
Just a little straight.
Gotta have a sequel.
Just a straight chillin' trivia here. We all rated this 4.5, Randy, by the way. None of us.
Yeah,
I
I
didn't
went
think
and
any of
looked
us
as
rated.
well.
Yeah.
I knew it was all very positive though. Like, yeah,
Sure.
I guess that tracks.
Yeah. The last bit I have here. So the budget on this, I found the number 15 million, which is not that. That's laughably low. It's way more than that. Keaton wouldn't show up for 15 million. And then the other number I found was 100 million, which seems a little more reasonable, probably somewhere around there. Had to that, whatever the insane budget cost was, because this movie's fucking being promoted. Sorry, I said budget. The promotional stuff that they've been doing on this has got to be out the wazoo. However, it did still gross opening weekend $146 million.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, get ready for Beetlejuice.
Oh my lord.
It's gonna happen.
Everybody's
sure.
gonna be some AI bullshit created thing. God.
I'm not excited for the future.
Just in general.
That's just Randy's statement on live.
Yeah, that's where I'm at.
I'm just
That's
not
a bump.
excited. Not excited about the future.
That's a bump right there. That was perfect. Cut that out.
I'm gonna go ahead and put that on your tombstone, right?
That sounds pleasant. Yeah.
That's all the trivia I got, gentlemen. Let's jump into our Cooter of the Week.
All right, here we go.
Extra, read all about it.
Yes.
Juice. What is a cooter and why do we hunt them?
Well, Bob, Cooter's character type in a straight chillin' exclusive. Cooter must hit 3 of these 5 points to be considered a cooter. We want the cooter with the most points. The 5 points of cooterdom are sexual deviance, manipulation, smug arrogance, overall look and attire, and overall patheticness. Boys, do we have a cooter this week?
I think we got a number of them, honestly, but the first and foremost, Rob, you want to say it with me? Fucking Rory.
Rory,
right?
yeah, totally.
Rory Culkin. No.
The human being.
Rory Culkin. He wasn't in this movie, but he's a real cooter.
He's a fuck.
Look and attire. What the no.
No.
Yeah.
Manipulation.
Manipulation.
Out the ass.
Of course.
For sure.
I would say look and attire, that there's something about that scarf kerchief ascot thing he's got going on that rubbed me just the
And the
wrong way.
ponytail. I don't like the ponytail.
Yeah, the ponytail is a good call too. Yeah, he's just got a very like shit eating
yeah.
demeanor about him. You
Look,
know,
and he shit
eats a
his
lot of
pants.
shit.
So patheticness.
True.
When did
I
he
don't know,
shit
man.
his pants?
Well,
always
he
they always
says-
shit their pants.
Oh,
When
okay.
so when he's running down the street and the priest or whatever, the preacher man picks him up, he says something like, "Oh, I pooped in my pants," and then he's like, he gets in the car and the preacher does like a ooh face, like you
Okay.
smell like shit
Yeah.
or whatever.
I
So
left it in all day.
you got
Left it
to.
in all day.
So that is 3 right there. Smug arrogance, does he have? I mean, I guess when he gets the true serum, it's all he's putting
Yeah.
on a front, so
You see his real personality. I think he really is pretty smug. Yeah.
probably, yeah.
Oh,
So
yeah.
smug arrogance, and then what's
Sexual
the last one? Sexual
deviance?
deviance.
Yeah, well, yeah.
I think he's like
Try-
forcing this woman to marry him, and that's gonna
Well,
lead to
Yeah.
intercourse.
the
if they haven't
level of
already
manipulation he's operating on, it's like con
Yeah.
man level long con shit. Like
Yeah.
that, fuck it,
Yeah.
fuck that, man. That's
Well, okay,
deviance,
no,
like,
sexual
false
deviance. I got
pretenses.
another one for you. He's like, I never had a dead wife. I went to the grief ceremony to pick up easy women
Pick
or
up
something
chicks.
like that.
Easy-
Yeah.
like
Oh,
Sexual
easy
deviance.
manipulable women or something. Yeah.
That is a
Right.
dude from Wedding Crashers.
I was just thinking that. I was
That
like,
is
that is
Will
Ferrell's
Ferrell. That
character.
is
Yeah.
Oh,
the
geez.
meatloaf now.
Oh my god. That's hilarious.
Oh my god.
Certified cooter. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man.
All right. So that's 5 points. He gets all 5.
I think he's a pretty strong cooter. I think you can make an
Yeah.
argument for the serial killer boyfriend. You could make an argument,
Yeah.
maybe. Well, no, probably not for Father Damien. There's just not enough of him.
Yeah.
Beetlejuice, of course. Like he's kind of.
I'm pretty sure we booked him on the first movie.
Yeah, but he's
he
not the
hits
worst
all the
cooter.
same
Like he's more of a
points.
good guy in
Yeah.
this. He plays
He
kind
kind
of
of
like his
is, yeah.
Beetlejuice the cartoon role in
Sometimes.
this.
That's why, yeah, I wasn't a big fan of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, Beetlejuice. I mean, he hits the sexual deviance,
Monica
the
Bellucci,
manipulation, the
maybe?
sexual.
She's like not even in this. Like I
Dude,
wouldn't
she-
even know.
He
she's
manipulates
got like
him to
5
kill him,
lines.
sexual deviant. Like, yeah,
And
but
they're
she's
all
like,
just like,
so
"Where's
non-entity.
Yeah, she
Yeah,
kills her
I
boy
agree.
Danny DeVito, so that's at least a point for something.
I don't know, just like pure gut core like level. I gotta think it's Rory. He's just like
Yeah.
cooter
Yeah.
royalty almost.
Rory Culkin,
Yeah.
we got him. All
He's
right.
up there. The human.
Evil.
Now, before our Slack
human
tears me apart because they love those pale weirdo boys, I like Rory Culkin. Okay, it's fine. Come on.
Don't.
Hey
I'm
guys,
Pale
just-
boys are gonna come for you in the
I'm
night
just
if you don't
sassing over
retract.
here. Okay,
they
everybody should
can't
be
come.
like, just Juice doesn't like Elijah Wood. He doesn't like Cardo.
Yeah. You're gonna you're gonna be sleeping in your bed and hear quietly in your closet like a pithy comment from Rory Culkin.
No, I like
ear
Rory.
peeking out at you like a Papa Meat, like a meat canyon video.
He's gonna play tummy sticks with you.
Wait, which one is the guy who's in Scott Pilgrim?
That's Rory.
Is it okay? Who's
That's
the guy
Rory,
who's in Scream 4?
That is
He's the weird
Kiernan?
one.
Kiernan?
Is
Kieran,
it?
I
He's
think.
the one who's
I think
kinda
he's the
cool.
same one that's in Signs, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Macaulay. Why these kids got weird names?
Yeah.
Can't
We need Jeff, Jacob,
Soju,
Joshua.
Randeezy, and Bob.
Y'all some
That's what
white
we need.
people, man. Come on.
Y'all, some white
We need
people.
some ethnic
That's-
names like Kieran.
We got just like the beer. We got our
Yeah.
cooter of the week. We got him locked up. Throw away the key, boys. Let's get it in. Let's talk about what we've been watching this week.
Straight chillin' will never die.
All right.
Why don't you ever play that bump like
Yeah,
in
what
good
the
places?
fuck? What the,
Why-
yeah, like one of the
I play that
best
bump every
bumps
week.
You never play that.
I have
bump.
not heard that
Oh,
bump for
the
I
joke.
play that bump
100
every week when we talk about what you've been
It's-
watching.
It's been 2 years since that.
Straight
bump
chilling
was-
will never die. That's
Oh,
awesome.
man.
By the way,
It
shouts
is.
outs to
What's his name?
Hydraberg and Loken and I mean the
thought you
whole
forgot
squad.
Joe Bob's name for a second.
No, a cut above and
Jacqueline and John.
yeah,
and-
Jacqueline, John, the whole squad. Yeah, for pitching in for
Yeah.
that. That was awesome.
Yeah, for sure. Your boy Nate.
Nate's, yeah.
Coming in the clutch, man, that was extremely thoughtful.
That was
So yeah, for all the people that are listening, like, what the fuck are these folks talking about? For our episode 400,
A little late for that.
several friends pitched in and got us a message from Joe Bob, and at the end he said, "Straight chilling and the driving will never die." And it's a very sweet, very thoughtful gift, and
Yeah, that was dope.
thank you guys.
That was
Yeah.
almost as good as when he said, "Hey gang, what you been watching?" and the one I just played. So
Oh yeah. Hey gang, what you been watching? Randy, what have you been watching?
So I've got a few things on the list this time around. Very recently I watched a documentary. Beck actually put it on, and I caught it like early on, called Daughters. I think it's on Netflix, I'm gonna say, but it was pretty interesting. It's about incarcerated fathers, and the jail in which they're incarcerated is like walking distance from my house, and so it was like of interest to us. And I was like, oh man, but it's like about them trying to like, you know, rekindle a relationship with their daughters specifically, and this woman who's putting together like a father-daughter dance for these people. It was very, very moving and touching and sad. I recommend that. On the lighter side, I rewatched a film called Cheap Thrills, which I fucking love that movie. I really like that
Hell
movie a
yeah.
lot. That's fucking Pat Healy kicks ass. Fucking Ethan Embry kicks ass. It's fucking great. For those who haven't seen it, it's about a couple of guys who are down on their luck money wise and meet this rich benefactor and his wife, and they start paying them absorbent amounts of money to do increasingly ridiculous or dangerous things, and it goes all over the place. It's fucking great. I watched a double feature kind of by accident because it just kind of auto played the second one, and I was like, well, yeah, I'm gonna watch this now. I watched The Addams Family, the 1991, right, or 92 maybe.
Something like
Addams
that. Yeah.
Family with
Yeah.
Christina Ricci, which is just as fucking great as it's ever been. That movie fucking rules. And
Yeah.
then followed that with Death Becomes Her, which is an absolutely great double feature. Honestly, I that was another one that was, for those who don't know, I don't know, it's not as known as The Addams Family, but it's a Meryl Streep and Goldie Hawn and Bruce Willis star in this movie that's like a couple of catty women obsessed with their age who one keeps stealing the other's husband or boyfriends, and then husband. One of them is Bruce Willis, and he's also a plastic surgeon, and then they drink an elixir that makes them have eternal life, but they can still like damage their bodies, and so they both basically like get hurt and have to use the plastic surgeon Bruce Willis to piece them back together again over and over again. It's fucked up. It's kind of funny. It's like, it's a very silly movie, and it comments a lot on like Hollywood and obsession with age and all that sort of thing. It's a really great, like aesthetically, a great double feature with The Addams Family. If you like The Addams Family, you'll probably like some Death Becomes Her as well. And then last, I watched a movie which I had heard about in passing here and there called Man Bites Dog. Has anybody seen that here? Have you guys seen that?
Never have.
So that's like, I guess, kind of an early found footage film, because it's like a mockumentary style. And it's very much in the vein of like a Behind the Mask. It's following like a serial killer.
Nice.
But it was like made in like 91 or something like that, and it's French as fuck. It's basically like Leslie Vernon Behind the Mask, like one of the more violent horror movies you've seen, and Gay Paris all rolled into one. It's pretty interesting movie. It's hard to watch a couple times. It's going to come with some heavy duty content warnings, especially around sexual things. There's some Clockwork Orangey things, if you know what I'm saying. But it's also like got a little bit of weird charm to it. It left me feeling a lot of ways. Not all of them positive and not all of them negative. It's just a fucked up kind of movie. I kind of want somebody to talk to me about it, so call in and talk to me about it.
Someone talk to
I want
me.
to hear it.
Talk to me,
Somebody
please.
somebody who loves this movie, call in and defend it. And somebody who hates this movie, call in and lambaste me. I want to know more what people think about this movie. Man Bites Dog. Interesting thing. That's it for me. Soju, what do you got?
I have nothing.
Yeah, I had
Literally,
a
I don't
feeling.
have time to watch anything. Bob, what have you been watching?
A few things. So I finally watched that horror movie that's been on YouTube for the past month or so, getting a lot of buzz, called Milk and Cereal.
Oh
It's
yeah.
about
and
a little
cereal.
over an hour long.
Cereal
Good
in the milk?
shit. Cereal and milk. Yeah, that fucking song popped into my head too.
Mhm.
Definitely recommend checking it out. Found footage movie about these kids playing pranks on each other and it gets out of control. Really
And
cool
it's
shit.
free.
It's free on YouTube, Milk and Cereal. Watch it, show it some love. Also, I watched this live event on Netflix called Unfinished Beef, which aired last Monday. And it was a hot dog eating contest between Joey Chestnut and this guy Kobayashi, who's this Japanese competitor that has been he signed to like some other major league eating competitor or whatever, so he can no longer compete in the Nathan's hot dog eating contest every 4th of July, which Joey Chestnut just has dominated for the past decade or so. But before that, Kobayashi fucking crushed it. And they wanted to have this sort of like rematch that just never could happen. So Netflix made it happen. And it's about an hour long. They have a couple other like eaters before like the big events who just like crush these Guinness World Records. And it's all like, they got announcers. It's a giant crowd. They way overhype it for people that are just eating hot dogs and shit. It's like it's a little nuts. They've got like marching bands and like celebrities. It's kind of nuts. But overall, I really enjoyed it. I like watching the hot dog eating contest on the 4th, and this was cool to see. And Chestnut absolutely crushed his number in a major way. And they made it even harder. Like they usually dunk the dogs because it makes it easier to swallow the bread. They
Yeah.
couldn't do
Dog dunk.
that. They couldn't do
Sounds
that.
so gross. Soggy hot dog bun on
Dude,
top of eating a lot of hot dogs.
It's not about
It's
the
all very
flavor.
gross.
Yeah.
It
It's all
is.
very disgusting, actually.
It is.
Bob describing this contest to us had me being like, Bob, we know the history,
Yeah.
Bob. We
Do-
know about the glizzy contests, okay?
Do people know? I don't know. Maybe I'm sure some people
I'd-
do. Like, do
I
people
mean,
know
yeah,
who
people watch-
Kobayashi is? Maybe some people.
Yeah. I've
Okay.
had many conversations about this actually.
Okay. Well,
All right.
fuck. Check it out on Netflix. I thought it was great. Check it out. Really entertaining.
Yeah.
I also
my ding dong.
No.
no, thank you. I also watched the first part of this Max documentary series called Wise Guys. It's like a Sopranos retrospective, 25-year retrospective. It's only 2 parts, but each one is about 90 minutes long. And I watched the first half. It's really good. If you're into The Sopranos, check it out. They're both up there now, so you can watch the whole thing if you want.
Cool.
And last, I'll say The Horror's Greatest, which is a show that airs every Monday, I believe, on Shudder. I don't know how many episodes it's going to be, but each episode, there's just a bunch of like horror talking heads on the screen, and they're talking about a specific topic. Last week's episode was about giant monsters. About half the show was Godzilla, and this week's, I think it should be up there tonight, is all about J horror, and it's just like, man, if you want just like a shot of like, fuck yeah, I love horror. Like this is a great show to put on. I think they're about 45 minutes long or so. So Horror's Greatest on Shudder. Really enjoying that. That's it. That's what I've been watching.
Cool.
Nice.
Boys, we got a couple voicemails. Let's see if we can bang right through them.
All right.
Unhinged for the bumps. Unhinged. If you guys are listening, would like to call and leave a voicemail to be featured on next week's show, you can hit us up at 904-638-3231. First up, we're going to hear from Nicole. Let's hear what she's got to say.
Hey guys, Nicole with Light and Shadow here, and I think I have a really good idea to expand the world of The Shining. They're doing that Welcome to Derry show on HBO, and I think there's a way to do The Shining as well. And in the book and in the miniseries, I don't think in the Kubrick version, Jack goes down into the basement, he's looking for something else, and he finds this old scrapbook. And in this scrapbook, we have the history of the Overlook Hotel, but it's almost exclusively the sordid history. So there's tragedies, deaths, there's like a gang assassination, Lots of really spooky stuff in there. And I think it would make a great TV show to take basically a page each week out of that scrapbook and build an episode around each of these really spooky things that have happened. And I think that would work well because it would allow us to revisit the world of the Overlook without any of the trappings or the baggage of the story we already know, the characters we already know. And of course, I would want Flanagan to do this because we know he's great at taking existing material, putting his own spin on it, and making it modern and impactful. I'm thinking of like the black and white episode from Bly Manor. But anyway, I would just love to see this. I would love to revisit the Overlook, like I said, without rehashing what we already know. So yeah, if there's any filmmakers out there, let's make it happen. So until next time, stay spooky.
Brilliant.
Kind of a nifty idea. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be way into that, to be honest.
I think that there's like some danger of doing things like a whole story that ends with a man in a dog costume giving a blowjob or some shit like that.
I think
but
that,
if they can dodge
that
that
popped in my mind.
temptation,
Yeah, you
If
can
they
make
can
it
dodge that.
anything, and you know, just weird
Yeah.
shit that happens in a hotel. Show me,
it's
yeah,
just a
one off.
setting. Yeah, like
That'd be great. Flanagan
Yeah.
could rock it. I mean, he's basically
I
done the
would see
giant,
when she
giant
first-
spooky house.
When she first started, I thought
he's
it was
done.
even going to be like American Horror Story, but in the way that like each season is a time period. So you
that
keep
could
all
be cool
the,
too.
you know, like you
Mhm.
do season
Yeah.
1 is the 20s, season 2
Yeah.
is the 30s. So every year or every season, the fashion style changes, a whole new set of characters, but then they all go through their own experiences at the
Oh,
hotel,
man.
something like that.
they could
I would love
blow
that.
the room 237 crowd out of the water by doing a whole season around Native Americans that used to live on the plot of land. 'Cause
Whoa.
God
Oh
knows
my
there was some-
god!
or like they filmed the moon landing there or some shit.
Yeah.
Also, yeah, Mike Flanagan definitely has some has some experience in this arena. So it's not just the old house thing. He fucking did Dr. Sleep, for Christ's sake. He's well
Yeah.
familiar, but I'm not big on that
can do it.
movie.
I don't like
I think it
Dr.
would be
Sleep
better
right
as a
now.
series. I think like I just don't think that story was all that interesting to me.
Yeah,
but he's
Suck your
great at
soul
serialized horror.
out of
He's
your
so
mouth.
great at it.
Fucking soul suckers.
just like Beetlejuice.
Beetlemang Deuce.
Just like famous Beetlejuice character Dolores. someone.
Dolores.
Yeah. Good
Thanks
call.
for calling, Nicole.
Thanks for calling, Nicole.
Always good to hear from you. Last but not least, we're gonna hear from our boy Chris. Let's hear what he's got to say.
Hey, Straight Trail and Crew, this is Chris in Louisiana. I just got done listening to the Pan's Labyrinth episode, and I hope this voicemail makes it to the We Are Still Here episode. Great pick, Nate. I love this movie. I made a comment on Twitter about it one time when I was rewatching it, and Ted Cohagen retweeted it and commented on it, which I thought was super cool. I'd never experienced that before, but I had a job, and I think I've talked about this before, but I had a job a while ago at a behavior health residential facility, and it was like in the middle of nowhere. It was like maybe 15 miles like off of the highway in the woods. And I worked graveyard shift there. So when that movie came out, that's when I watched it, late at night after I got done with the work and all of the patients were sleeping, and I had the lights out, and like it was pretty effective. It's a really good setting to watch a horror flick, especially one that, you know, kind of was, I'm going to just say it, it was scary. I thought that movie was pretty scary. Like, again, the setting was probably a major contributing factor, but anyways, and then, you know, just how it evolves into a bloodbath at the end is, man, chef's kiss. It was really, really good. That was probably one of my favorite movies of that. Probably my favorite movie of that year. And then, you know, of the 2010s, that was definitely on my top 10 list. So great pick. I hope you guys liked it. Again, great choice, Nate. All right. Thanks. Talk to you guys later. Bye.
What a spooky place to watch that movie. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's dope.
Chris has huge balls to do that. I don't think I could do that. Be too
I've
afraid to
seen
start a
them.
movie. I've seen they're grapefruits. Oh my gosh.
God damn.
Yeah, I think like years ago he did call in and mention that he worked like night
Mhm.
shift and like would watch movies and shit. And that's that sounds dope, man. Honestly, especially around Halloween. But good on you.
It does. And it is a scary movie
Another.
for sure.
It is. It's spooky for sure.
And-
Yeah, thanks for picking that flick, Nate. And Ted is super active on X, formerly known as Twitter. If you hit that man up, he'll respond for sure.
Yeah.
Do it.
Also, like I want to really quickly go back to Nicole's thing because I think she was responding to that prompt we had about properties that could be like revisited in some way, maybe. And I forgot to mention this, but Death Becomes Her is, I think, getting a reboot or some sort of sequel, whatever, or something. So I just wanted to mention that because I'm interested to. I actually think that's a pretty good movie to do that with. It's kind of forgotten. It wasn't perfect. It's got some really cool cult status amongst people that do know of it. I think it might be a good one to go revisit. So we'll see how that goes. The go back and revisit them could do worse.
Well, let's kick that question down to next week. And if you guys have any sort of property you think could be revisited in an interesting way, call in. Let us know. 904-638-3231. Again, if you want to call in and leave a voicemail to be featured on episode 500, you can do that as well. And we're going to be back next week with a brand new movie review. Popcorn. We're talking about the September poll winner, Popcorn from 1991. Check that out. Get ready for next week. We're on all the socials, Straight Chilling Podcast. Just search us and we'll pop right up. And until next week, as always, all you mother truckers, please keep chilling.
This house is clean.
All right, boys, I have to go.
Yeah.
Yep, that sounds good. I gotta go too.
All right, I'll catch y'all tomorrow.
See y'all tomorrow.
Yeah.
All right.
Bye.
Later.